Hey marketers, it's Qasim. I've got another update for you on the topic of Flock, which is actually my favorite topic at the moment. It also happens to be one of your least favorite, and I know that because I look at my video analytics. I can tell that when I produce Flock related videos, I don't get as much engagement. However, I'm going to keep creating this content because I think, and forgive me for sounding arrogant, I think I'm ahead of the curve here. I think that people that aren't as concerned with this just don't understand the impact that it's going to have, and I want the library of content that's going to be helpful for me as soon as the interest does spike, because then, hopefully my content's prioritized, and B, the ability to point back and say, I told you so. So, that said, I have an article from Cafe Media. It's actually pretty cool. They have a significant amount of data available just based off the fact that they have such a broad-reaching content network. And so they published this article, late May, early status of the Flock origin trials. And I just wanted to go over the article. I'll link to it in my description, and then also offer some of my thoughts and feelings. So I think this is cool. We captured millions of data points from Flock-enabled browsers since April, and are developing approaches to analyze the data. Now, this is, first of all, this is proof that Google is actually, A, hurting smaller advertisers, and B, putting the power in the hands of the content farms. And I've felt this way for some time. One of the guesses that I made in the very beginning when Google first rolled this out is the fact that this is going to arm and equip lead aggregators, because they're going to have the ability to, where like an independent dentist, for instance, isn't going to have enough data to properly optimize. If you have somebody who's generating dental leads in every municipality in the country, they're going to have far more visibility and then the ability to be much more efficient with their decisions. This is proof. So here's this company, this organization that has, I forget what they said, like tens of thousands based on traffic. 3,000 plus sites. So not tens of thousands, but they have 3,000 plus sites that they get to analyze, and instantly they have far more access to content and information than the rest of us. So Flock doesn't necessarily protect privacy from everybody. It just protects privacy from the people that are, marketing in a silo, and the people that are have broader reaching content networks and actually get more information. And those are the ones that we need to be scared of. So that's just philosophical misunderstanding with Google. That's all I'm saying. But to go back to this little line, they're going to take a look at how Flock cohorts interact with 3,000 plus sites on their Cafe Media network. So really cool notes on how Flock works, I thought. It says each browser is only ever in a single cohort. Now, this is interesting because I've seen conflicting content on this topic from Google. I've seen Google say everybody only is in one cohort. I've seen Google say that people can be in multiple cohorts. Here, Cafe Media is saying each browser is only in a single cohort, although that can change over time as the user's browsing behavior and content mix changes. I'd love to see a citation here. I want to know where they got that information. That's going to be a really big point of contention, because if every browser is only allowed in one cohort, that means that the marketability of that user, the value of that user, which that's Google's inventory, by the way, is people. The value of that user is limited to a single advertising category at any given time. I don't buy that. I don't think Google's going to limit itself, because here's the thing. If you just had a baby, let's say, then you're a multifaceted consumer, because you obviously need new baby products. You probably are potentially shopping for a car, maybe for a house. You might even be interested in returning to work at some point. And so, there's four very distinct categories that I just can't anticipate Google saying, nope, you're just the baby buyer right now. If they're going to zoom out that way and just say, here's the person who just had a baby, and then everybody gets to decide, well, are people who just had a baby applicable for houses, cars, and baby products and, returning to work? Fine. But what if you just had a baby and you just moved to a new state? And you just got a new job, and whatever. There's ways for you to be a part of two very distinct avatars and demographics. Life events aren't singular, and avatar and purchase behavior and demographics aren't singular. So I just don't, this whole every browser is only ever in a single cohort. Maybe I just don't understand it. Maybe I don't understand machine learning and the way that they'd be able to make that multifaceted enough to make you available and accessible to multiple advertisers. We'll see. But that's interesting. So here we go. Google Chrome, now I didn't know this. Google Chrome uses an algorithm called SimHash that takes a user's browsing history and converts it into a really long number. Cool. Where's the citation? Where are you getting this information? And then they use the sim hash to apply a flock ID. And it's really important that people aren't able to see the sim hash value, apparently, because then they're able to reverse engineer things about your web history. So, good to know, basically. Now, the flock ID values, according to these folks, go up to 34,000. That's interesting. But not every possible cohort is seen, because anything that is sensitive, and the color delineation, by the way, is just so that I can separate topics. Anything that's sensitive, Chrome's not going to add to a cohort, which is appropriate. Now, this is a really good visual of how this works, and good for these guys for doing it. You can see the sim hash numbers, and then how numbers that are close end up in the same flock. And so here are two users who are in similar flocks, and so they're both going to get automotive advertisements, as you can see as this little image rolls. And then here's a user who's in its own separate flock, and what's the ad that this person gets? Hold on. Oh, it's for a dog. So cool, and that kind of shows you how the flocks are going to help identify people based off of interests. Sim hash results that are similar have similar browsing histories. That makes sense. Now, this is interesting. The results will be less precise but still have value. Sure, we'll see. The highest numerical sim hash that ends up in the cohort 17 will be very similar to the lowest numerical sim hash in cohort 1701. So this is what's interesting, is they're using your browsing behavior and history in order to offer up a calculation that then puts you in a cohort based within where you land in that range. But to the point that they just made, it's not buckets, it's a spectrum. And so, you know, this is such a stupid example, but I have a friend who's really into astrology. I'm not advocating for this, but this person says that if you're on the line, like you could have been a Pisces or an Aries, that you end up being like having attributes of both. I wish I didn't just say that. I'm going to publish this video anyway and just accept the repercussions. But this seems to be kind of the same thing, to where you sort of can meld from one cohort into the other, and depending on where it is that you land, you could be similar to each. Groups of consecutive flock cohorts can let you see general patterns. That's good to know. And this is what they try to do. So this is really interesting, because they grouped all flocks into K-flocks. Since there's 34,000 total flocks, they decided, okay, we're going to put all these flocks together into groups of 1,000 cohorts, instantly diluting data. But that's fine, because they know that. But we only have 34 K-flocks, and here are the 34 K-flocks. This is what's really interesting. So they say, okay, 10 content keywords that over-index against each K-flock. And you look at these, and it's like, all right, here's K-flock 1,000, which again, that's 1,000 cohorts. And they get dogs, guides, working things, roast, state, shrimp, people, articles, girl. Okay, cool. What does that mean? What does that tell us? This is where it gets really interesting. They go, where did it go? The exciting thing is that you immediately start to see some patterns. No, you don't. This is reaching. So this is the funny part. So, for example, the 20,000s look like they're interested in crafting and learning with their family. How? How did you get that? Here's 20,000. Subscriber, crochet, pattern. All right, crochet maybe. Pattern, you can't say crafting. Writing, man. And then I don't know if they just meant 20,000 standalone or the entire 20,000 block, but even so, you know, here's crochet again. Pattern. I just don't, you would need a machine to analyze this data before I would ever believe, you know, that type of anecdotal interpretation. The 29,000s are reading about gear, modeling cars. The 14,000s are into work-related topics such as business, work, and model. Model is not a work-related topic. And the O's look at pages about pictures, music, and support. That's maybe if they need support, one of the 22,000s who like to build apps and online can help them. So, no, there's zero value there. This is just the attempt to create content, and I'm so sorry to bash Cafe Media. I think they've done a really good job up until this point. I'd rather them say, this is going to be really tough to see the signal through the noise, and we're not ready yet to start making meals, words, tips, support. Come on. Science, crochet, games. There's nothing, as an advertiser, I don't look at this and say like, oh, I now know where to go. At least not, it's not a replacement, a tangible replacement for Google Ads. And then, here's the best part. They've turned it into a visual using this really cool tool that I didn't know existed, by the way, which is nifty. But the visual further, I think, makes my point, which is there's no, I don't want to say there's no value. There's no actionable value here. I wouldn't make an advertising decision based off of what we're seeing, which is fine. So then they go, you can see a few. Now, this is where value begins. So they offered up different categorical interactions, and they're noting like valleys with food, but this is reaching too. So the groups that aren't interested in food would be great to advertise to DoorDash. No, that's reaching. Now this one I like. Flock 14,000, finance and technology. Bam. A brokerage firm like Charles Schwab would want to reach investors. That's the first one that got close, but this, that's the type of categorical advertisement that you'd think of like with a YouTube channel or, general interest-based segmentation. Here's another one that's mild, home and garden, but if you look at the number of flocks that have spikes in interest there, I don't know, man. This just makes me more scared. This just freaks me out. Because here's the thing. Here's what's going to happen. Google's not creating flocks so that we can reverse engineer interests. Google's creating flocks so that we can see the connection between a flock and the machine learning output. They don't want you to know so that you can make decisions. They want to force automation, and they're going to do it. They're going to win here because you're not going to be able to, as Cafe Media has just outlined, in my soft opinion, and I'm not trying to bash these people. I actually think it's a well-written article. I just disagree with some of their assumptions. I think they're reaching. But as they've been able to outline, we're flying blind, and we're not going to be able to extract the data that we've been able to extract historically. And that means that we're going to have to use the tools that you use when you fly blind, which are all of Google's tools. And we're just going to be entirely at their mercy. So I didn't mean to just get all doom and gloom on y'all. But I thought that this was interesting. I thought it was an interesting sort of attempt at interpreting what is going to be a whole mess of data and, something we're not going to be able to peer into. So I don't know. I don't know how helpful this is to you or how much y'all even like this conversation or this topic, but I'm going to keep talking about it because I just think it's so important. This is going to be the biggest change in digital marketing history ever. The removal of the one-to-one connection. You think the iOS update was bad? That was data loss, which sucks. This is data replacement. Forced data replacement. It's a change. It's a shift in paradigm and approach and process. And we're going to have to figure out how to contend with it. And, what sucks for y'all is this is good for me. It's good for the agency. This actually, I think, forces utilization of agencies, or at least professionals, freelance or something, because people are going to have less of an ability to contend with Google. They're going to need us, but it's going to hurt the small advertiser, and it's going to benefit the content farms and the folks that are actually able to mine this data and then figure out exactly how to use it. And there's a whole separate industry that's going to be just built around flock identification and optimization. So that'll be interesting. Anyway, hope this was helpful. I shoot a video every day. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you tomorrow.